Yep. Hello everyone, I am Cham, the co-lead of GDSC, and welcome to Android Study Jam. Thank you all for coming today, and we hope you're excited and participate a lot because you might just win Google Swag or a $25 Uber voucher. I'm gonna hand it over to Tom. Oh wait, should I? Yeah, agenda. So today's agenda is welcoming and introductions, then Android Study Jam with Tom Anderson, aka Ando, and then the wrap up. So I'm gonna hand it over to Tom Anderson.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I will share my screen so we can have my PowerPoint. But yes, so today we are going to be having a look at Kotlin. Hopefully my screen should be there now. Thinking about it. All right, so yes, this is the first Android Study Jam. So we'll be looking at Kotlin, a bit of an introduction to Kotlin, and we will be going through a basic overview of Android Studio and making a first app in that. So all very exciting stuff. Prerequisites, know how to use a computer headphones, internet connection. You're all here, so I presume that you got all that sorted. Only other main thing is having Android Studio pre-installed. If you don't have it installed, go start downloading it now. It might just be done by the time that we get to it. So learning objectives. So we're going to build a very first Android app. We're going to have Android Studio set up. We're going to learn the basics of Kotlin and discover some resources to keep on learning after this session is done. So all of this content that we're going through is based off the Android Basics in Kotlin course that you can find online. I'll drop the link in a second, but it's a free training resource from Google that will walk you through from the very beginning to getting your first app done. So it's a really great resource. They've got lots of other really good and thorough tutorials on there if you're ever looking to learn something. So yes, that's what we're going to be basing things off today. And I will drop the link so people can follow along. I've just sent the link in the chat if you want to open that one up in your browser and you can follow along. Make sure you sign in with Google, which it signed me out of for some reason. Because when you sign in with Google, it'll make a profile for you, and that way you can get badges and show off on your profile that you've completed the various quizzes and modules that will come through on here. So a really good way to, share with your friends and maybe potential employers the information that you've learned and skills that you have. So today we will be going through Pathway 1, Introduction to Kotlin, Pathway 2, creating your first app, and Pathway 3, building a basic layout. If you're keen for more, there is a fourth pathway as well, which is adding a button. So you get into more complex stuff there again. And so that would be a great next step if you're interested to learn more. But for now, we'll start with the introduction. So there'll be a few videos and stuff that you can watch if you're coming through in your own time, but pretty much I'll be the video for today. So you'll get a profile. All right, so what is Kotlin? So I'm sure many of you have heard of Java before, and Kotlin is effectively a modern reimagining of Java. So it is made to run in the exact same place that Java does, so notably on Android phones. So it still compiles into what's called Java bytecode to run in the Java virtual machine. All that sounds like spaghetti words to you, don't stress too much. It pretty much just means it can run in the exact same places as Java does. So Kotlin is a modern and popular programming language, and it is pretty much, Java reimagined with extra features and makes it much nicer for developers to use. So if you're looking to get into Android development, Kotlin is the place to start with that. So for the beginning of this, we'll be using the Kotlin Playground, which is just a little interpreter I've just dropped the link in the chat. It's just a little interpreter in your browser. Great way to get up and running with typing, so getting some Kotlin going to begin with. So we will be utilizing that to test out some Kotlin to begin with. So later on, we will be using Android Studio, which is the official app that is used for creating Android applications. So it is a very, very big app, lots and lots of different features. It can do everything from creating the, programming Kotlin itself, the logic for the application. You can design user interfaces in it, so getting all your screens and everything showing up properly. And it even does things like testing and emulating an app. So you can get a virtual device running and actually see how it would react on a device for debugging. So very, very powerful application, and exactly what you need if you're looking to be building with Android. Finally, they have an Android emulator, like I mentioned before, just a virtual phone. You can test your app running on it. So a really good way to, especially if you don't have maybe an Android phone on you, or you're doing something like a TV, you're making an app for a TV, makes it very easy to debug, which is what we like. Final concept, which we'll be covering, is a user interface, which is what you see in an app. So this next screen shows us what we want. So the main screen of an app is called a layout, which groups together something called a view. So you've got your layout, and the view is like each individual little component that make up the screen. So if you've ever done anything like HTML before for websites, similar kind of concepts. It's all hierarchical and layered within each other, which makes it great for developers. Android Studio makes user interface development even easier because it's all drag and drop. So you can see what's happening in real time, which makes it really good for us. So we're making a simple little app using text views and image views to display text and images, and buttons come around in that last module if you get to that yourself. And with that, we are just about ready to get started. So if you can pull open the first link that I sent, which is the overview, and if we go to the Introduction to Kotlin page, we can scroll down and take a code lab for the first program in Kotlin. So if we click this, it'll open up. We'll be skimming through a lot of this stuff today because I'll be talking it out. But if you get a bit confused or I've missed something, either ask a question in chat, please feel free to use the chat, or in obviously the description for each of these pages is a really good way to learn a bit more. So we can navigate through the first page to run your first program in Kotlin. So if we open that that playground link that I sent, I'll do my windows nicely. All right, so we have Kotlin Playground on this side and our notes on this side. So we can test, first of all, that it's actually working by clicking this little green play button. When we click it, it'll load for a second, and mine is not happy. Of course, it breaks when I am trying to show it live. Just turning off ad block and everything. We'll see if this works. Sync in. All right. Still not happy. Might just have to take my word for it. But hopefully for you, it's working. Doesn't seem to be working for me. What should happen when you click that green play button is it will show a little virtual console underneath, and it will be as if you're typing it out yourself. It'll print everything out in the console for you. Again, hopefully you can follow along with it. I'm unlucky enough that it's decided not to work for me. But yes, so if we were to hit that green play button, we should see Hello World pop up underneath. All right, so what is this little snippet of code doing? So like most programming languages, Kotlin has functions. The way you declare a function in Kotlin is by this fun keyword. So fun for function. Yes, please let us know if anyone else is having issues. Hopefully it's just me. We can live with that. But yes, so you can define a function with the word fun. You can give the function a name. So in this case, main. Main is a special function keyword. Again, like most programming languages, main indicates that that is the starting point for the application. So if we were to call this something else, it would not work because the computer is looking for a function called main to run. So that's why this one's called main. We can pass in arguments to the function here, which we will cover in a little bit. And in Kotlin, they use curly braces to indicate a function body. So that's pretty much, the code that you want to run when the function is going. In Kotlin, semicolons are not required, which is great for anyone that's used Java before, because it will crack the stats if you forget a semicolon. So Kotlin, no semicolons required, which is really good. There is a built-in function in Kotlin called println, which stands for print line, and pretty much says what it does in the tin. It will print the string that you pass into it to the console. In Kotlin, strings are indicated with double quotes, as you see here. So what we're doing here is we're pretty much passing the string hello world into the function print line, which will end up with it being in the console, which is great. So that's pretty much what it's all talking about here. And yeah, we get our very basic first Kotlin program. Very exciting stuff. All right, so this is great and all, really good program. We can extend our program by adding more print line statements, as you may expect. So in this example, they're doing a happy birthday. So I might copy them. So I can say happy birthday, I'll type, let's pretend it's my birthday. So I can say happy birthday, Tom. And I'm not 25, I am, we can pretend I'm 26. Yes, so as you might expect, if you were to run this code and it works for you, you will get, that's not even a word, happy birthday, Tom, and you are 26, all on different lines. So like any other programming language, you can add multiple statements together into a function to get more functionality happening when you call it, which is what we want. Now, like any programming language, Kotlin does have errors as well. So if we were to drop off the quotes to this string and it were to work, we would get an error saying that this is invalid. See how it's gone a bit red? That pretty much just indicates that Tom, Kotlin doesn't know what that is. It's a random word. Kotlin doesn't understand it, so it's going to throw an error being like, I don't understand what this is. Adding quotes back in indicates that this is a string, and it makes Kotlin happy again. So when you're using Kotlin, like any language, keep an eye out for your syntax as you're typing it. And yeah, make sure you're not missing any quotes from strings or anything like that, which might not make it happy. And yeah, that's pretty much the very, very basic overview of Kotlin. If there's any questions or anything, please do feel free to let me know if I'm going too fast or anything like that. But with that, so they have some solutions if you want to see what they did, summary of what was learned, some links for other resources. So this stuff is all really good if you're going through these kind of modules in your own time. Really good resources to find some more places. And they've got some extra challenges here. So again, if you're looking to come through in your own time and extend yourself a bit more, this would be a really good place to start. They have some extra challenges. So if we hit done in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, it will load back and it should give us a tick for this module, which is what we want. So now this will show up on our profile saying that we have this badge, which is really good because everyone likes badges. And with that, we can move on to the second part of the Kotlin overview, which is this create a birthday message in Kotlin. So we can take the code lab and we are dropped back in here. So for this section, again, we will be using the Kotlin playground just to make it easy for us to write Kotlin. We will be looking at more complex text to output, some maths, and also things like loops and other kind of structures like that make programming a bit more pleasant for us. All right, so what do they have here? So we can be So yes, so we've got some code, which pretty much just prints out happy birthday, you are 5, 5 is the best age to celebrate. If we were to run this code, it would output these lines here, as you might expect. We can also have a birthday cake. So this is all using the same concepts as before, where print line will just send a single line to the console. If we get a heap of print line statements together, like they do here with this cake, we can make some little ASCII art and get a little cake showing on the screen, which is great. So again, using all the same concepts before, just printing strings to a console. Nothing too fancy happening there. Comments in Kotlin are just double forward slashes. Again, like Java, same as Java comments, you can just use comments with double forward slashes. Comments are important for, I guess, annotating your code. So if somebody comes along later, they can see what you've done. Even when you come along later, if you come back in a few months, I can guarantee you will forget what you did work on a few months ago. And so having comments in there will save you a lot of time and confusion trying to wonder how it works. So we can combine all of this stuff together to create a very nice little happy birthday message. So we can print happy birthday and show them a cake and tell them how old they are. And we've added some comments in so we can tell what each section does, and it all should work like that. So we move on to the next section. We're going to get into some more interesting things, being variables. So again, variables are a common feature of many programming languages. They pretty much act as a way to store a value. So we can have a value in our code, we can assign it a name, and we can use that value in different places, which is really handy if we're taking input from users or getting data from somewhere. Let's just do some quite powerful things. So in Kotlin, variables are declared with the keyword val, V-A-L, for value. We can say we give it a name, in this case age, and we can give it a value. Don't need semicolon. So what this will do is it will assign the number 20 to the variable age. Now, one very cool feature with Kotlin, which might be different if you're coming from Java, is Kotlin can infer, which means like Kotlin can work out automatically what type of variable something is. So Kotlin is able to know that age is an integer, so it can automatically set the type of age to be an integer. So this is going to save you, a programmer, lots of headaches having to go there and try, type every single type that you're using out or things like that. Makes it very easy for us. So we assign the value with an equal sign. So we have a variable. That's great. What can we actually do with it? So if we were to use the print line function again to print some text onto the screen, we can create a string and we can say you are, and if we use this special combination of characters, so a $, squiggly bracket, the variable name, and a closing squiggly bracket, what this special sequence indicates is that we're not just making a string, we're actually referencing a variable from the rest of the program. So what Kotlin can do is it can come through, it's going through this string and it's getting to this $, and the squiggly bracket, and it's going, okay, the person is looking for the age variable. It's able to find the age variable since we declared it above, and all it does is it copies that value and pastes it in instead of that sequence of characters. So that will end with, if we were to run this and it actually worked, we would end with the message you are 20 printing out in the console. So that's great. So now we actually have a way to use our variables in our program. Now, not only can we use variables just like this, if we were to make another variable, so let's call it days in year, let's pretend it's not a leap year and say 365. Kotlin allows us to, this is going very weird, isn't it? Let me just try. Excuse me while I just loading. Here we are. We'll see if this works. Just do new. All right. Let's see if this works. So sorry, bear with me for a second. So I say this, and then I can say print line, you are age. I say run. Oh no, that's not working. Sorry. Well, I'll just use this as a example for typing, but I really am not having much luck running code apparently. But yeah, so we have an age as one variable. We have days in a year as another variable. We could use math operators like you do again in most programming languages. So for example, we can say val days old equals age times days in year. And if I put days old in here, so you are blah, 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 days old. So pretty much what this section of code is doing is we're creating a new variable, days old, and we're assigning it to be the result of multiplying age times days in year. So which will be some number. I can't do maths in my head like that, but it will output some number. So now we are using variables in conjunction with math operations and printing to get something quite cool out of our little application here. So it's starting to get some more use out of it. So yeah, so we have all that. Obviously, numbers aren't the only data type that can be used. We can create a new variable called name and assign it to my name. So I can say my name equals Tom, and I can add my name, or not like that, name. I can add my name to the output of the string. And so now it will say you are some number, days old, comma Tom. So yeah, it's using that substitution where it's able to look through the program for a variable by that name and insert it in place of this. So yeah, and so we have a very complex birthday message now. All right, so stepping it up a bit, we are going to create a birthday banner. So again, I can pretty much copy this code off the website. It's just using those print line statements again to print a string out that is in a certain pattern. So yeah, so we have this printing stuff, but you may have noticed we're kind of running around in circles in lots of copying and pasting of lines. And here we're doing the same thing twice, right? We're printing this line twice. So this is getting a bit repetitive. Luckily, Kotlin has another great feature called functions. And yeah, so just like we have this main function, we can also define our own functions. So here they're getting us to create a function, print border. So yeah, so again, we have a function name, which can be whatever we want. Precede it with the fun keyword, which indicates to Kotlin that it is a function that we're creating. All right, and we have curly brackets to wrap our function body in. And to complete all this, what we can do is we can just drop this line of code in. So what's going to happen every time I call print border, it's going to automatically print all these equal signs to make that border that we saw before. So to call this function, all I would have to do would be print border here, print border here, and it will print out the code, you are blah, blah, blah days old, surrounded by equal signs, which is great. So we now have a little message box showing up in the console. So again, if you wanted to test that in your own Kotlin interpreter, it should work hopefully, and you can see that for yourself. So again, you can see we're starting to get some quite complex code here, where we've gotten lots of different variables storing different data types, and we are combining them in certain ways and printing them in strings. So lots of cool stuff happening here. All right, so this all these equal signs are great, right? Pretty convenient for making a border. However, what happens if I wanted the size of the border to change, depending on how much text there was? Or, I don't know how many is here. There's a lot of equal signs, but, it's not very clear what's happening. So we can use something called a loop to clear this up a bit. So instead of just printing, all these equal signs smashed together at once, we could have a bit more of a structured and reasonable way of doing that. So if I undo that. So in Kotlin, there is a really nice and convenient way to loop over something called repeat, which is pretty self-explanatory. In repeat, the keyword repeat indicates that is like a special keyword in Kotlin that shows that this is a repeating block. Within the first set of brackets, we can set a number to repeat. So if we say 10, for example, we want to run this code in this block 10 times. Finally, you can wrap this up by, where's my equals? Putting print in this box. So when we call print border, it's going to repeat 10 times printing equal signs. So one thing to note that's different from the previous prints that we've been doing, we've been using print ln, which means print line. What that means is every time it prints something, it's going to add a new line to the end. So if we're going to print something else later, or something else, it'll add it on a different line. Print without the ln is a little different. All it does is it just doesn't put in a new line, so it keeps it in the same line. So the first time it'll be equals, second time it'll be equals, and so on. So that means that instead of having equals on different lines, which would be no good, it means that we can show them all in the same line like that. So now our print border function is a little neater, a little more manageable, makes a little more sense for people that are looking at it. And we can, I guess, wrap it up by adding print ln blank. And so this pretty much just will add a blank line in, so we don't have lots of things being squashed into the same line, which is no good. And again, if you were to run this in your interpreter, you should get a nice little output like this. All right, so equal sign borders are great, but what if we wanted different symbols? So this is where we again can create another variable. Let's call it border, like they have here. And we can let's use something different. We can use an ampersand for our border. So we've defined, we say, okay, instead of equal sign, we want to use this border ampersand here, but we need to communicate that somehow with this print border function. And the way that you do that is with parameters, function parameters. So this pretty much lets us put a parameter name and the parameter type in here. And we can now call border. Whoops. There we are. We can now pass a border character in. So I'll just walk through this syntax a little quickly. If you've used Java before, this is the exact same. And it's pretty much just we're assigning a name to the parameter, so in this case border, and a type. So that way Kotlin knows what to expect, what this type should be. So in this case, it's string with a capital S. We can wrap it up by putting border inside the print statement. And now, if you were to run this code, you should get ampersands printing out instead of equal signs. So we get where are we? Down here. So we get our ampersands or whatever character you've chose, and it will print out a different border now, which is good. So now we're getting more, this code is becoming more extensible now. So we can use this function in different ways. It gives us more shortcuts for doing things, which is very useful. Yep, so we can get different styles of borders. All right, so we have this repeat block here that's going to run something 10 times. But what happens if we wanted something more than 10 times, or some other thing? To do this, we can have a second parameter. So again, just like other programming languages, you can have any number of parameters. And let's call this parameter repeat. And it can be a type of, let's just make sure I got the right type, int with capital I. And if we put this in here, maybe not repeat, repeat count, let's call it. Oh, wait, it's not confusing. All right, so now this print border function has two parameters. First one is that border character that we talked about. Second one is a repeat count. So instead of just printing something 10 times, we've replaced that with a variable. So now we can control how many times we want it to print. So in here, we could say we want it to print out the first one, let's say 10 times for the first one. Second one, we might want to print it out 40 times, for example. So that gives us lots of flexibility in how we want this function to be used, which is why parameters are so good for us. So it just is reducing how much reused code that we have everywhere. And yeah, so have a play around with this, but you can pretty much get some very funky looking borders happening as they've got in this example here. Yeah, so we can move on to creating a cake with candles. So I'm sure you could probably start to see how we might get to this stage. But yes, we're going to create a cake with candles. We're going to be using repeats and things for it. Yeah, so we can start with this code that they've got here. Just copy and paste it into your interpreter. Again, it should all look quite familiar. We have our main function. We have two variables, one called age, one called layers. And we also have three comments, which if you are keen-eyed, you will notice are function calls that have been commented out. So we will be making these functions as we go. So first step is to print cake top, which would make sense. So it's a function to print the top of the cake, a line of equal signs, and it will be pretty much the same as what you would be expecting with the print border function that we were working on in the previous section. So we can make this function ourselves. So keyword fun for function, we can say print cake top with curly brackets and curly brackets. We have our function body. So here they're saying that we need an argument of age. So you better put that in. So we can say we want age to be type int with capital I. So we have our age. Similar deal before, we can have a repeat block that's going to repeat age times +2, currently +2. And we want to print an equal sign. All right, and then print line at the end. So you might be thinking, why are we doing age +2? Where does this come from? We scroll back to the example they have up here. They've got candles on the cake. And assuming you know what a birthday cake is, you'll know that when you turn a given age, you'll have that many candles on the cake. So if you're turning 10, you'll have 10 candles on the cake. However, you can see the cake is just a little bit wider than the candles that they have here. And you'll notice it's one column wider. So that's where that extra 2 comes from. So we need enough cake top to fit the candles, plus 1 extra on each side so the candles don't fall off the cake. So that's why there's +2. All right, so we have repeat with the empty line. Now, if you were to get rid of this comment and call print cake top with age, it should print a cake that is a line of equal signs that is 26 characters wide. So that's great. All right. Next step we have is print cake candles, which does those candles I was telling you about. So we can start making this function. So if I say function print cake candles age. All right, so we know that we need enough candles for the age of the person. So based off our previous code that we've done, we want a repeat block with age, and for each one, we want to print a candle. Now, if we go back up to the example cake, we can see that the candles are actually broken onto 2 lines. So you've got the flame, and then you've got the actual waxy bit of the candle. So we're going to need 2 repeats because it prints it across. It does 1 line at a time. So we've got to do all the flames, and then we've got to come through and do all the candles themselves. So in this first iteration, we can do the flames, just a little backtick. Oh, sorry, they do a comma, don't they? So we can do our little backtick here. And then we can come through again. And if I do print line, on the next line, we can come through and do our candle itself. So we could now uncomment this print cake candle section, and it would work. However, you'll notice if you remembered what I was talking about before, it won't sit quite on the cake. It'll be on the very edge. So to fix that, we can just add a little print call beforehand to add a space, just to shift the candles over. So if we add this in, and now if you run, whoop, that's not right. Now if you run this code, we should get some nice looking candles popping out, as we see over here. So that's great. So we have our candles, we have our cake top. Last thing, I didn't do a type here, which is a bit slack of me. That's better. All right, so the last section that we have is to print the cake bottom. So we can see we need a cake bottom that is as wide as the candles. So that makes sense. This is like what we want here. It needs to be as wide as the cake top. And we can also have any amount of cake layers as defined by this variable layers here. So you might be able to work out, we're probably going to need 2 arguments then. So if I say function print cake bottom, so this is our function. Now we need our parameters. So we can see from the example usage up here, they're passing us age. So we know that's an int, and they're also passing us layers, which again, we know is an int. So we have these 2 parameters being passed in. And similar deal to before, we can honestly probably steal this code here and paste this in. This is going to be the exact same. And instead of an equal sign, which is the cake top, we can do an @ sign for the cake body. So if we were to run this code now, if I was to uncomment this, if we were to run this, you realize it's only going to be printing 1 layer of cake, which isn't very good. We've got a bit more than 1 layer of cake. So to have more than 1 layers of cake, we can add another repeat block. If we put all this inside of a repeat block, it's a nested loop. So it's going to run, and if we put layers in here, for each layer we have, we're going to go through and print enough equal signs and then add a new line. So we're kind of nesting these loops here, which is going to get us a better looking cake, a bit more cake for everyone then. So now if we were to run all this code, we should be getting, where are we? We should be getting a better looking cake, as we can see down here. So hopefully you've all been able to follow along with that, and you have a cake printing out on your screen. Yeah, if there's any questions or anything so far, please do let me know. But yeah, anyway, if we were to click through the rest of this little section, you can see the code that they have, which will be pretty similar to what we have. What else do we have? Summary of what we learned, and we have some extra resources if you wanted to go and learn a bit more. But we finished this section, so we can click done. And this will load up and we'll get another tick with what we've done. And with that, we have the end of our first section of this little workshop here with the basics of Kotlin. So if you'll notice at the bottom, there is a quiz, and I'll go through the answers in a few minutes, but if you want, open up the quiz, go through and work out the answers, submit the answers, and we're running a little competition. The first person who gets 6 out of 6 on the quiz and sends a screenshot of it saying that 6 out of 6 to the general chat of the Discord server will win a Uber Eats voucher. So get on it quick. I'll give probably about 5 minutes for everyone to do that quiz, post their things. Good luck to the person that gets it first. Jacqueline's just thrown the link in the chat, so make sure you join if you haven't. But yes, the first person with full marks on that quiz will get a voucher. I'll sit tight for a few minutes and we can go through the answers once everyone's done. This will be a good opportunity as well if you have any questions to ask away while we're waiting. So good luck, everyone. Also, people actually want to chuck in this chat when they're done as well, just so I can keep track of how many people have finished it.
Also, feel free to unmute your mic if you're having issues with accessing Discord. So the first one who would do 6 out of 6 for the quiz will receive Google Swag. Oh, how do you post? So go to the Discord server, the GDSC Discord server. I sent the link on the chat. Yep.
Yeah.
Then go to the events category. Then you can see the Android Study Jam channel.
Oh yeah, we got that. Even better. Oh, and looks like we have.
Oh, we got a winner. Yep.
Oh, very close, Nalvoida, but sorry, just out. Stiff competition. But yes, congratulations to Arjun.
Yep, congratulations. You just received a Google Swag soon.
All right.
Also, can you send your email so we can contact you on how we would send you the swags?
All right, and I will add that's not the only opportunity.
It's not Google Swags. It's the $25 Uber Eats voucher. Arjun, you can send me your email address on Discord and we will send you the Uber Eats voucher through email. Thank you.
All right. Congratulations. So that won't be the only opportunity for prizes. There will be a few other opportunities. One of them is for interaction with everything. So if you have questions, if you have suggestions, please do put them in the chat because the most active people might be getting something. Wink, wink, if you get where I'm going with that. But yeah, so I will start walking through the quiz. So feel free to chuck your answers in the chat as I go, so we can see how people went. So first up, what is a program? Does anyone have any guesses? If they want to chuck in the chat, I'll give like 10 seconds for somebody to post something in. 5, no one, come on, surely. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, time's up. You guys are terrible buzzer beaters. Come on. All right, so a program is a series of instructions that a computer system executes to accomplish some action. All right, first Kotlin question. What keyword do we use to define a function in Kotlin? Pretend you can't see this stuff. Anyone have any clue as to what this one might be? Bearing in mind that there's prizes for participation. It's a lot of fun. It sure is. Nice pun. I like that. All right, fun is the keyword that we can use to define a function in Kotlin. All right, next, which of the following do we need to create a Kotlin program that prints a line of text? What do we think it is? Multi-choice as well, so you got a few options. There better be somebody furiously typing away to get this answer. All right, well, I'll start it off. We need a main function, which gives the program an endpoint, a place to start from. We need some curly braces to wrap, there we are, B, C, and D. You are correct. So curly braces to, B, C, and D. Yes, so curly braces to wrap our function body and a call to print or print line to get something out on the console. So that's great. What do we expect this Kotlin code to do? Any ideas, anyone? Arjun's killing it out here, but all by themselves, so need some help. All right, well, I presume this might get people stumped, but it prints 2 lines of text. So we have 2 calls to print line, and each one is going to be printing out its own string to the console, which is great. All right, 5th question. What would you modify this main function so that it prints a 6-layer cake for somebody's 4th birthday? Do you have any ideas? Feel free to unmute as well if you prefer that instead of typing. D. So we have set age to 4, which would be about right, 4th birthday, and set layers to 6, which again is right. So yes, well done, that is correct. I will point out the slight difference with B. You'll notice that they're wrapped in quotes. So we have, which indicates a string, which wouldn't work. If we remember, if we go back to, I don't know where I put my code. Is it down here? Yes, so yeah, if we go back to our function, you'll remember we said that age has to be an integer. So that's why B won't work, because it's got quotes, which means it's a string. We want C, which means that it is an integer. And finally, which of these options correctly calls the function below and passes it valid input arguments? Any ideas for this one? A, let's have a look. So we have first argument is string, which we have. Second argument is location, which is also string, which we have. And last one is int, which we do have. So yes, congratulations, that one is correct. So we can submit our answers. And to make sure you actually do this on your own one as well, because you will get a badge for it. So was that a hand up I saw? Feel free to unmute if you have questions. Yes, hello?
Yeah, hello. I want to ask the answer for the 4th one, shouldn't it be like it's printing 3 lines? Because the new line will be also a line.
I see where you're going, but the lines that there will be 2 lines, I guess, displayed on the screen with actual text on them. Yes, technically, there is a new line carriage appended to this line, which means that if we did a subsequent line, it would be on a new line itself. But this function in isolation will only be printing out the 2 lines that we see on the screen. So you can think of that new line that's sneakily inserted. That's kind of all it's doing is moving the cursor to the next line. It's not actually outputting anything that we can see. Does that kind of make sense at all? Or
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So if we had a third print line statement, it would be 3 lines by then.
Oh, yeah, the new line will be also on the previous line.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, perfect. All right, good question though. Thank you for that. All right, so yeah, make sure you do this quiz yourself on your own profile, get 6 out of 6, and that means you'll get an extra little badge for that as well, which is nice to show off. So we've finished the Kotlin overview, so we can close out of this. You can delete that. So we finished our Kotlin overview. Next step is getting Android Studio going. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to install it by now and you can follow along. So we don't need to do this download and install Android Studio because hopefully we've done that. We can jump straight into this third section, which is create and run your first Android app. So if we expand it and take CodeLab, it'll have us all the instructions. So so it's going to go through and create a happy birthday app starting from a template, and we can look at what Android Studio can do. So we'll go to the next section. All right, and I will pull up my Android Studio over here. So if you want to take this opportunity to launch Android Studio, you should be greeted with a window similar to this, which is just like a home for Android Studio, have all our projects and things like that. We can start with clicking New Project, which opens up this window. And this is one of the many great things about Android Studio. It offers us lots of starting points. So you don't have to go from scratch at the very beginning and do everything yourself. It gives a lot of different templates to get things going. So you can see we got some empty things. We've got bottom navigation, which you might be familiar with in some apps. We've got maps, we've got Google Play, we've got drawers, we've got all kinds of different things. So there's lots of different starting locations, which makes it great for us developers. On the side, we can also see that there's different devices as well. So we have phones and tablets, but we have Wear OS, which is their smartwatches. So we can get a few different templates for that. We can get Android TV, so for like big screen TVs, and even automotive. So, the cars that have screens in them, stuff like that, you can do all that in Android Studio. So there's lots and lots of potential for Android Studio. But for now, we're going to keep it simple and we're going to stick with empty activity. I'll move this over. Actually, I'll keep this over. So we'll just go with empty activity, keep it nice and simple for now. So we can click through to the next pane. This is where we will configure different settings for our application. So you can get into some really fine-grained things here, but we'll keep it simple for now. We can give our package a name, Happy Birthday. So this is like our app name, that'll show up on the home screen, things like that. Package name, so this is almost like an ID for our app you can think of. Save it in a good location on your computer so you can find it again. Make sure Kotlin is selected here. Otherwise, our previous knowledge will not be much use. Java is an option, but that's, as you can see, Kotlin is the default. So it is what Google officially recommends now for Android development. And minimum SDK. Without going too much into the weeds, this is pretty much just what version of Android do we want to say is the minimum. So different versions of Android have different features available. As you can see, it tells us that Android 5 will run on approximately 98% of devices. If I was to find the latest version of Android 12, it's going to tell us that it can only run on less than 1% of devices. So you want to pick a good balance between a version of Android that is well supported and a version of Android that has all the features that you need. So that's something to keep in mind. For us today, Android 5 is perfect. So we can stick with that and we can click finish. And we get this very big window with lots of things. I'll just see if I can make my font a little bigger. Stay with me. Nope. Preferences, appearance, font, custom font. All right, let's pump this up. 26. There we are. It's nice and big. Can everyone see that okay? Is that a good size? I'm going to presume silence means... Oh,
It's still loading, I think.
is it?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yep, that's good. Cool. All right. Alrighty, so just for a quick overview of Android Studio, obviously there's lots of different buttons and menus, all different features. We're going to keep it nice and simple today. On this left-hand side over here, we have you can think of it as a project explorer or a file explorer. It'll list all of our various files that we have in our project. And it's handy to look around. If you used VS Code before, it's pretty much the same thing. That sticks on the left-hand side. You can see all your files. You can click on them and go through them. This middle section is our code editor. So this is where most of our work will be happening. We can do our Kotlin programming in here. It's got IntelliSense and all those nice features that we come to appreciate. We do have a number of different buttons and things sitting at the top. That will help with things like debugging, running in an emulator, all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to pull this over here so I can see. So there's a whole slew of different features and things that are available within Android Studio. One important thing to keep a note of is this little output in the bottom left-hand side. If there's loading icons and stuff, it means it's doing things in the background. On your first launch, it might be a little slow. It might take a little minute to get going. But once it goes, it's generally pretty good. So if things are acting weird, first thing you should do is look in this bottom and just see if anything's still loading. But yeah, so we have all that. All right, so first thing we want to do is get an emulator going, because it's no good developing an app if we've got nowhere to test it. So we want to go to the Android device manager. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to the tools menu up at the top on macOS. In Windows, it should be in the toolbar itself. And we want to go to device manager, which is this little green dude in front of the phone. And we can see it opens a tab on the side, and I can't resize the columns, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, so it's pretty much got a device, how big it is, various things like that. You might have to create a device. I think it does come pre-installed with one now, but if you do need to create one, you can click this create device option. Again, it comes up with lots of different devices and things that we can test. We want to keep it nice and simple with a phone, say Pixel 5, say next. We can choose a version of Android. So Android S is okay. You might have to download a version if it hasn't already. So you'll just have to click the download and wait a minute or two. But once you have a version of Android selected, we can click next again, and we can give it a name. So I'm just going to say my phone, and view our options. Shouldn't need to change any of that. And we can just click finish. It's going to create a device, and now we can see it coming up here. So I'll use this one just because I've already got it going. But if we click the play button, it's going to open another window. It might take a minute to get going, but it's going to start up the emulator down here. So if we wait hopefully another few seconds, just while it turns on. There we are, Pixel is starting. All right, so, and this is full on Android, just running in Android Studio, which is pretty cool. And we can see, actually I need to get this going. So if you click this play button, so first up, make sure you have app selected in this first menu, the Pixel device on the second menu. If you click the play button, it might take a minute to load, but it will load the app onto the phone and display it for you. So this second menu is you can do some pretty cool things with it, such as test it on a physical device. So if you have an Android phone next to you at home, you can actually connect it up and test it on a real device, which might be something that you're interested in. So there's some good resources in the guide that we've been following if you wish to do that yourself. But that's a really good way to test your app as well. But yeah, we can see that it's loaded in the emulator though. and we have a basic app showing. This is happy birthday at the top and hello world in the middle. So I'll make that a little bit bigger. So yeah, so that's great. We have a simple little app showing in an emulator. So we've got a way to run our app now, which is what we want. All right. So the project view over on this side, it's we have our source files under the Java directory. Although we are doing Kotlin, Kotlin is the language we're using. I guess the standards for Android packages has the code in a Java folder. So we still follow that convention. It doesn't change how our code runs, though it is still Kotlin. But yeah, our application code will be in this view. The other folder of note is this res folder, which stands for resources. So if you have photos in your app, or if you have, movies or things like that, they'll be in this res folder. The other thing that is important is layout. So if we click on this, and maybe if I can collapse this for a minute, that. So the other thing is this activity main.xml, and this is where the UI for the app is designed and managed. So this is that drag and drop editor I mentioned before. We have a preview of the app on this side, this white screen. And on this side, it's called a blueprint view, but you can just think of it as like an X-ray view. So it's kind of handy if an element is hiding something else, or, if something's gone weird, the blueprint view can help you work out what's gone wrong. However, this side is the proper view of what you will actually see in the app. So I guess that's the first overview of Android Studio. We'll skip over those last two things. If you're following along yourself, I'll drag that over. If you're following on yourself, you'll notice that there's two other sections for running on a mobile device and Android testing. We won't worry too much about it in this section. However, if you are looking to extend yourself further in the future, I would highly recommend them. They're two good concepts. This one will get you actually running on a physical device, and this will work through the testing process in Android Studio. So that makes sure you don't accidentally make an app that's really buggy and crashes everything or something like that, which would be quite bad. But you can go through. Just bear with me for a sec, it's not behaving. Android Basics and Kotlin. All right, and that's going to take us to our final section for today, which is building basic layouts in Android Studio. So I'm just going to paste that link into the chat for the people that are still following. Yes, so create a birthday card app is going to the first section. So you jump back to the introduction. So we're going to build a basic little layout like this in Android Studio. So we've already set up the project, so we can skip that first section. Now, some little terminology for Android apps. They have components called views, which is what we have on the side here. So views are kind of, I guess, the elements of the app. So things like text or buttons or, images, all these things are grouped into a thing called a view. So it's just a generic term that they use. The other view of importance is layout, which we can see is in this folder over here. So layout, you can think of as the different screens of an application. So if we wanted another screen, we'd be adding another layout over here. And yeah, that would be another layout, which would hold its own set of views. So this layout editor has a whole bunch of functionality, which we probably won't quite get through all of it today. But it's a good place to click through and see what's happening. We have a component library over here. So we can go through, we can find different text and buttons and lots of good stuff over here. That we can just drag into our project. Over on this side, if I was to select something, is like the properties. for that view or for that element. So we can see there's lots and lots of different things that we can play with. We can, change the rotation, for example, of something random. But yeah, there's lots of different knobs and dials you can turn over here. The thing that we're interested in, however, is changing this text. So we have this text view, which is all well and good. However, it's not a very good birthday app if it's saying hello world. So the way that you can change text with the text view is you select it, scroll down to the bottom of the attributes, and we can see that it has a property called text. So all we need to do is select this text and replace it with birthday. There we are. And so if I click off this, we can see it's saying happy birthday now thing, which is great. Yeah. So we've changed our text to be happy birthday. We can test that it's actually working by clicking this run in app little button over here, terminate, and it'll open it up in our emulator, and we can see now that it's saying, oh, that was a bit much. I'll scroll down. So yeah, happy birthday. So we've actually got it showing up in our app, which is great. So that's a very good start for us. So that's how we can be, changing the attributes of text. All right, so obviously a single line of text isn't too exciting. So we can get rid of this existing text view for now. And we can see the only thing we're left is this constraint layout over here. Now, if we wanted to add something from this component tree over on the side, we can just literally click and drag it in. So I've selected text view, which is the top item, and I can just drag it in. We can get a preview of where it's going to go, and we can just chuck it up in this corner. I reckon it'll be quite nice. So we've got a text view, a text view sitting up here. What else are we going to have? So yeah, so pretty much we can see we have an error showing up at the moment, which is no good. And it's saying missing constraints in constraint layout, click badge for detail. Pretty much what it's saying is Android Studio doesn't know where this is on the screen, right? Even though we've put it in the top corner, that doesn't actually mean anything. It's just floating around there. So what we need to do is come up to this constraints section up here. And constraints is the way that you position views on the screen. So we can add a new constraint for the top. We can say 16 is fine for now. We can add a new constraint on this side, say 16, and we can see this error is gone and it's happy now. So now the app will know where to put this text. It knows that it needs to be 16 pixels from the top and 16 pixels in from the sides. That's great. So we have constraints to this text. This error, don't worry too much about it. It's not a big error. It just isn't happy that we've typed text directly in here. But that's not something we need to worry about for now. So, but yeah, if you just have a triangle here, you're doing well. Things are going well. So we have our constraints. The final thing we'll obviously want to do is change the value in here. We obviously don't want it just saying text view. It's a birthday app, so we need it to say happy birthday, and you can put a name in. I'll put my own name in. So there we are. So we now have a text view that says that is positioned nicely on the screen and is showing what we want. We can do the same thing again to add some text at the bottom of the screen. So if we can drag it in, we can drop the text view in. We'll need constraints because it needs to be positioned. So this time we can say the bottom corner, bottom and right. So I'll make them 16 as well. So it's all the same. All right, so now that's positioned, and we just need to give some value to the text. So we can say from, I'll make it from myself, from Tom. There we are. So now we have two text views. We have a text view in the top corner that is positioned with constraints, and in the bottom corner, which is also positioned with constraints. So that's really good. We can test this ourselves to see what it's going to look like. If we click this play button again, it's going to load. I want to terminate. It's going to open it up. And there we go. We have our bar at the top. We have Happy Birthday Tom in this side and From Tom on this side. So that's great. So we can see, there we got our text position. So does anyone have any questions so far? Is that working for everyone? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. I'm going to presume silence means everything's okay. But just interrupt me if there's anything that comes up. Now, obviously, the text we have here isn't too exciting. It's not the most exciting birthday message I've seen. So we can continue playing with these attributes to make it a bit more exciting. So let me just find where they have gone. No, that's not it. Yeah. Text appearance, here we are. All right. So if we expand the text appearance section, we get all these different options for that you might expect for a text. So we have font. So maybe we can change the font to something a bit more fancy. Why don't we have it in cursive? We can make the font size a bit bigger. It's quite small right now. So if I say 34, text color. You can go crazy with this. You can pick any wild color that you want. We don't want this. We'll just say that. We have a nice blue for my text. Where'd it go? Clicked off it. Text. We can say bold and italic as well, because why not? So you can go pretty nuts with all these different styling options. Maybe I can make this one monospace, and I'll make this ginormous. Let's say 60. And I'll make it red, because why not? So yeah, we can see there's lots of different here we are, sorry. I'm stuck with getting the emulator running, but it looks like a BIOS thing, so I'll just watch for now. Yeah, that's interesting. Might be worth deleting you could try deleting the virtual device from the device manager. So should be, I think mine's a bit sad because it's so zoomed in, but it should be an option to remove the device and maybe try recreate the device. That might fix it. And this, that's what we mean. Yeah, so that might be, you will need virtualization enabled, like you said in the BIOS. So, or Windows features. I believe there's something in Windows features that you might need to do. I haven't used Windows in a few years, but yeah, hopefully you can get that working though, because the simulator is very, very useful. So it might be worth working out. BIOS. That's no fun. Yeah, well, hopefully you can get the BIOS going. Feel free. Let's have a look. Module was converted by me. With an incompatible version of Kotlin. Where can I change the Kotlin version? That is also a good question. There should be something in the project settings, if I can find that button. My things are looking a bit sad. Was this a fresh install of Android Studio?
I opened Android Studio after some time, and it was asking me to update the Kotlin version. I updated it, and now it's giving me error on running.
Maybe try recreate the project after updating.
Recreating the project.
So if you go File, let's have a look. File, New Project.
Okay.
So I'm thinking what might have happened. What might have happened is it saved your old version of Kotlin, then you updated, and now it still wants the old version. But since you've updated, it's still stuck on the it's expecting the old one, but it's finding the new one.
Yeah, I'll create a new project.
Yeah, see how that goes. Let me know if there's any issues with that.
Sure.
And Arjun, if you have any issues, if you want a hand getting the virtualization working and you're not having much luck, feel free to ping me on Discord later. I'll see what I can do to help you with that as well. But But yeah, so yeah, keep questions coming if things aren't working, but I'm hoping that it is for most people. But yeah, back to the styling though, you can pretty much go crazy. Just need to restart. Yeah, easy. Yeah, you can go crazy with the styling, lots of different options that are there. And this attribute panel is your go-to place to find all that stuff. So yeah, so we got all that, and I guess we can run it as well in our simulator to see what it looks like. So run this again. There we are. So it's got it. Happy birthday, Tom, from Tom. How good. So we can see that all there, which is great. All right. So, and so yes, that's kind of the end of that part. And we'll have one more final section, which is adding an image to your app to pretty it up a little bit. All right, so we will be starting from this similar view that we have here. What you will need to do is download this image from GitHub. This is just a sample image they provide. So make sure you download that and save it somewhere that you know. So I'm just gonna open link a new tab. I better show you. So yep, so I want to download this image and I'm just gonna say, not bookmark, sorry. I want to save this image and I'm just gonna to my downloads, save, Android Party. And then back in Android Studio, we want to come to the resource manager and we want to click this little plus button. So resources goes back to that res folder I was telling you about, res for resources. This is a nicer way to manage them all, but we can click plus and we want to import drawables. And it opens up here. If I go to downloads and if I sort by date added, there's Android Party. So it brings it up in this menu. So preview, and yeah, so we can just click next and then import. Yes, you can have my downloads. And there we are. So we now have, you should hopefully have the Android Party image showing up in there, which is great. So now that pretty much means that it is accessible from within our app. If we were to package the app and upload it to the App Store or something, it would include this image as well. So that should, yeah. So if we go back to the res folder, if you want to actually know what it did, if we go to the res folder, open drawable, we can see that it has appeared in this drawable folder. So that's kind of what it's doing behind the scenes. It's just making it a bit easier for us, the developers, so we don't need to worry about the folder structure and stuff like that. So yeah, so now that we have the image in our app, we actually want to display it. So up to now, we've been using this text view, which does text. If we want to do an image, you might be surprised to know that we will use an image view, which we can see here. So if we pull it out of the sidebar here, and we can drop it in somewhere in our app, and it brings up this resource picker, which is similar to what we saw before. All we need is this Android Party that we uploaded. So it should show up in happybirthday.app. So we can preview it, looks good, we can press OK, and it drops it in like that. So now we actually have this image in our app, which is great. So we can see that. Oops, sorry, I scrolled too far. Where did I go? Yeah, so we have the image in our app now. Yeah, so we can add a constraint for this image. So like the text, it's complaining right now because it doesn't know where the image is. It's great that we dragged it in, but it means nothing. Like it still doesn't know where it is, which is why we're getting this error. So if we want to put it exactly where it is, we can go to this circle on the top side. So, and if you hover over it, it should appear with a second circle. And all we need to do is click it. And it adds the constraint. Click, click, and click. So that's kind of pinning it to the screen you can think of. And that's pretty much just doing the exact same thing that we did before. with this constraint widget on the side over here. So that's another way to do that if you know where something is going to be. So now we've constrained that to the screen, which is great. All right, attributes, constraint widgets. All right, so it looks a bit sad right now though. It's not taking up the full screen. We've got lots of white stuff. So what we can do about this is we can see we have these other attributes down here, specifically layout height and layout width. So if we were to change this to this 0 dp, what's it doing? Excuse me. Yes. Okay. Yes. So we set it to 0 dp, and then there should be a section for scale type here. If we select, what's it doing? Center crop. This is what we want. There we go. So yes. So just to recover from that. So yeah, if you set the layout height to 0 dp, so it's just kind of as a constant, so we know what it is. Scale type to center crop, it'll take up the whole screen. You can try a few other different values for this if you wanted to see what they do. It pretty much just changes how it will fit it on the screen. Since this image isn't the exact correct size, it needs to play around with it a bit. So, but yeah, doing center crop will bring it in, make it sure that it fills the screen, which is what we need. Now, slight problem, we can't see the text. This is where this blueprint view does come into use. So we can see, it's like an X-ray view. We can see that there's an image. We can see our text is still there, but something weird's going on. So it kind of indicates that this image is over the top of our text and obscuring it all, which isn't too good. So very simple way to fix this is this component tree on this side. The way it is laid out shows the order of the elements. So the elements at the bottom are at the top, if you think of it. So if we were to drag the image to the top of the list, it puts it at the bottom. That means that we can see all of our text, which is great. So now we can see our text and we still have our image showing as the background. So that's good. So we can still see everything that we have. And if we were to click this run button one final time, let it load, terminate, bring it up, and we have our app. So we can see that it's fit to the screen. We have our text showing, we have our nice little image, and yeah, it's all there. So yeah, that is pretty much where we will leave it for tonight. So that should be a good overview of Kotlin, how the language works, some of the basic features in Kotlin, a basic intro to Android Studio itself. So a few different windows, the way kind of the app development cycle would work at a very basic level, how to use these attributes for, positioning, styling, all that kind of great stuff. There is one final module. If I bring this back, as I mentioned before, there is one final module, which is add a button to an app, which you can feel free to complete in your own time. And yeah, so that will go on to show more different views that you can add and more features and stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in continuing to learn, this website is a really, really good resource. Lots of great information and stuff there. So yeah, I guess, does anyone have any final questions or anything, or any final issues? Once again, I'm presuming silence means everything is okay. Oh, good by me. Awesome. Well, in that case, thank you, everyone. I might pass it back to the team to see if there's anything else they would like to add.
Yep. Before we go to the wrap-up, I would like to thank Tom Anderson for being a fabulous speaker in this workshop, and we truly appreciate for hosting this with us. Hope everyone was able to learn a lot about Android Studio and Kotlin, and hope you all didn't get drained with all the technical informations out there. And yeah, I would share the screen. So yeah, let's move on to the wrap up. So, congrats to the winner earlier, Arjun, for winning the Google Swags. I'm sorry for the confusion, but yeah, you'll be receiving Google Swags for being the first one who completed the quiz. And please send us your email as well as your Discord tag on the chat so we can contact you. And now we'll have the special award, which is the most interactive. So based on our so the most interactive is Hijit Kumar, and you'll be receiving 25 Uber Eats voucher. So congratulations for that, and kindly send us your email as well as Discord tag on the chat as well. So yeah, congrats for the two winners. And now, what's next from GTSC RMIT? Well, look out for the open source workshop around next week. And for further announcements, feel free to connect with us through our social media, and our club is primarily active on Discord. So yeah, just scan the QR code and you'll be directed to the social medias.